Hi everyone, I'm Celeste. Welcome to my BookTube channel, A Reader's Almanac, and today I am filming this video up at my sister's house in Burlington, Ontario, Canada. And so that's why you see the different background today. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the books that I am looking at in the month of September. So let's get right to it. The first book that I wanted to chat about that I've been reading in the month of September is My Cousin Rachel by Daphne du Maurier. Now, I got this lovely vintage edition several years ago, and I just love the cover illustration. I think it's beautiful. This is a vintage edition, and it was published in 1952. So beautiful cover art there. And yeah, I finished reading this and I did enjoy it. I love Daphne du Maurier, so no matter what she writes, you can't go too far wrong. However, I don't think it's my favorite Daphne du Maurier. It was a very Gothic setting, which I loved, and it was just very evocative. It is set in the 1830s, and it does begin in late summer, early fall, so perfect for this time of year. And it does have a very brooding atmosphere, which draws you right in. And the main character is an orphaned ward whose name is Philip. And Philip has come to live with his cousin Ambrose. Ambrose goes down to Italy because he's in poor health, and he goes down there for a cure to recover in the better weather, and ends up marrying a woman whose name is Rachel, who is apparently their cousin. And things ensue from there. Things get a bit sinister. Something happens to cousin Ambrose under mysterious circumstances, and Philip narrates the story. You never can really tell if Rachel, she's sort of morally gray, and so it is an interesting book. It's kind of a spider and fly study, if you will. So I did enjoy it, but I don't think I would count it as my favorite Daphne du Maurier, but I'm very glad that I read it, and it does have a wonderful country estate sort of brooding atmosphere. The next book I wanted to share with you is a book I'm currently reading right now, and that is for our family book club. And we have a retellings book club where we read a retelling of a classic myth, fable, fairy tale, or other sort of story. And so for the autumn 2025, we have chosen Daughter of the Forest by Juliet Marillier. And this, thus far, is really wonderful. As you can see, I have not gotten very far. It's a rather long book. The writing style and the prose are just gorgeous. I'm loving it so far. I will say that it's a very slow burn, and that the plot moves quite slowly, but it's also really evocative, really beautiful, and just really enjoying it so far. It's about a young girl, and it's set in medieval Ireland. It's a retelling of some classic tales, primarily the Brothers Grimm, the Six Swans, and there is the Wild Swans by Hans Christian Andersen, which is another version of that. And there is also this is from the library, but I'll just hold it up here. Hopefully it won't shine in the ring light, but it's The Children of Lir. And this is a traditional Irish tale that comes from Irish folklore. And the basic premise is that it's a young girl and her 6 brothers who are turned into swans by an evil stepmother. The story goes on from there. These illustrations are by Gennady Spirin. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but what a wonderful illustrator she is. I'll just hold up to one page here so you can see her illustrations. And I was also able to pick up this copy of Hans Christian Andersen's The Wild Swans with pictures by Susan Jeffers, who's another fantastic children's book illustrator. as we transition from summer into autumn and the colors all start to mellow and the leaves are turning, another bedside book that I enjoy every year is Autumn, an anthology for the changing seasons edited by Melissa Harrison. Now this is a compendium, an anthology of lots of different examples of prose writing and some poetry as well. And it's just delightful. It's a wonderful book to have on your nightstand or next to your reading chair and to just sort of pick up and dip in and out of. One of my favorite entries from this is actually a letter from the author George Eliot to someone named Maurier Lewis. It's dated October 1st, 1841, and it's a very brief passage here, but so evocative, as is, what George Eliot is known for. Is this not a true autumn day, just the still melancholy that I love, that makes life and nature harmonize? The birds are consulting about their migrations, the trees are putting on the hectic or the pallid hues of decay, and begin to strew the ground, that one's very footsteps may not disturb the repose of earth and air, while they give us a scent that is a perfect anodyne to the restless spirit. Quintessential George Eliot. She's just marvelous, even in her letters. And so I highly recommend this anthology. Melissa Harrison does have an anthology like this for each season of the year, and I'm collecting all of them. Now, a children's middle grade book that I'm so excited to share with you and that was new to me is this slim paperback called Fog Magic, and it is by Julia L. Sauer. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, Sauer. And it was published in 1943, and it was a Newbery Honor book. It won a silver medal. This book does start in spring, but because of the fog and the cold weather and the fact that it's set on the coast and they're all fishermen and it's a wharf, it has kind of a gray autumnal feel to it, which is why I decided to include it in this video in the fall for my September reads. And it was published by Puffin Books. It's definitely for younger readers. Originally, this book had illustrations by the illustrator Lind Ward, which are marvelous. However, getting an edition of that book can be quite expensive if you're looking on eBay, Abe Books, etc. So I did pick up this rather inexpensive paperback, and I actually really like this illustration as well. So as I said, this reads a little bit like a fairy tale, and it is set in Nova Scotia, and it's about a little girl named Greta, and she has special abilities when it comes to the fog. She lives in a seaside town near a harbor, near a cove, and finds that on foggy days she is able to transport herself back in time. And I just really enjoyed my time with this, and I was so delighted to learn that the author, Julia Sauer, is actually from my hometown and was employed at our downtown library. And I was a library clerk at our local library too, so I'm feeling kind of a kinship or a connection with her. So yeah, just really excited to have found this and to have discovered this author. She does have another book that I'm looking forward to finding, and that is called The Light at Turn Rock. So I'm going to be on the lookout for that one as well. But yeah, Fog Magic. It was very good. I did read some other middle grade and children's fiction books in the month of September, and I'm not going to go into detail about them here, but I will share their book covers and titles. The first, will you believe it, was called A Nest for Celeste by Henry Cole, and this is sort of along the lines of Hugo Cabret in terms of its lavish illustrations inside. So it's a children's illustrated novel, and It's a children's illustrated novel, and this is about a little mouse who lives under the floorboards in a house, and her name is Celeste, and she is an orphan. She does not have a family, and she is often terrorized by some bully rats who also live on the property. And in this story, you find out that Celeste lives in a house in the South, which actually turns out to be a southern plantation in the 1800s. And as guests of the owner of this plantation, we have John James Audubon and his young assistant, who actually painted pictures, the backgrounds and the vegetation and so forth behind the birds that Audubon painted. And you learn a little bit about actually the cruelty of Audubon in killing the birds and then having his assistant pose them with wire into lifelike poses. I enjoyed learning about Audubon and about this mouse and about the plantation, and the illustrations by Henry Cole are wonderful. I do feel like there may have been a few missed opportunities in the story because it is set on a plantation, and you see no evidence of slavery save on one page where we learn about two boys who are outside, and that's the only time you have any sort of sense that there are slaves on this plantation. So since the book is about cruelty to others and mistreatment, and you know, I just sort of felt that it missed an opportunity by linking in the topic of slavery. But the illustrations are wonderful, the story is sweet, and I do enjoy having this in my collection with the muted brown, tawny sort of tones. And of course, you know, with Celeste in the title, I had to get it. The other middle grade book that I enjoyed this month was Hedge Witch by Skye McKenna, and this was her first book, her first children's novel. I enjoyed this one too. It's very cute. It is kind of a mashup of several classic fantasy stories involving magic. I see little bits of Harry Potter in here. I see bits of Narnia, and so you know, it was a good read. I think it's very worthwhile to read if you're just looking for something that has a great boarding school atmosphere, featuring a little girl learning about her family and about witchcraft. Well, it's also TudorTember, which is something I like to do every year in the month of September, and I will put the information about the hosts and the challenge below this video so that you can check out their channels. And I chose for the month of September, in honor of TudorTember, to read about Kateryn Parr, who was the last wife of Henry VIII. This is a nonfiction book from Pen and Sword History, and it is by Laura Adkins. And I haven't quite finished this yet. I've been dipping in and out of it, but I am learning just so much about Kateryn Parr. And just the opening pages are astounding in terms of how her grave was found, how it was opened up, how her remains were mistreated and eventually reconsecrated, and she was given the honor that she deserved. She led a very interesting life. In the little adage about the wives of Henry VIII, she is one of the ones who survived. And so, yeah, I'm really enjoying learning a bit more about Kateryn Parr. I just have two more books to share with you today, and the first is part of my quest to reread the first 15 books in the Nancy Drew mystery series, and this is a blast from the past, kind of a vintage reread for me, since I'm such a fan of girl sleuths and collect memorabilia from that era. And so this one is number 15, so I have accomplished my task by reading the first 15, and this is The Haunted Haunted Bridge. This was a marvelous one to end up on. For now, I'm going to continue reading more Nancy Drews, but this was really fun. This, while it takes place in the summer, it takes place at the end of the summer. And Nancy and her chums, Bess and George, and there are a few appearances by Ned Nickerson and friends. This takes place at a resort in the mountains, and Nancy is enrolled in a golf tournament, and there is a sinister specter who makes an appearance at a bridge in the woods that they find out about because Nancy whacks a ball and it goes off into the brush, and they discover this specter. There's a whole mystery that needs to be solved behind this. I think my favorite memory about this particular book from when I was young is the name of one of the nefarious characters, Mortimer Bardescu. And I remember as a child, I just loved saying that name, Mortimer Bardescu, and he's kind of a ne'er-do-well. So this was thoroughly enjoyable. That is The Haunted Bridge. And finally, to wrap up, I am a huge fan of P.D. James mysteries, and fall is a wonderful time to read a cozy mystery. And I am collecting and following the exploits of Inspector Adam Dalgleish. And so I am on my second Dalgleish mystery, and this particular one is A Mind to Murder. And the gist of this plot is that Adam Dalgleish has to hurry from a literary party, because he's also a wonderful poet in his personal life, to the nearby Steen Psychiatric Clinic, where he discovers the body of a woman sprawled on the basement floor, and the mystery goes on from there. These covers from Faber and Faber are absolutely delightful. I'm collecting the whole series, and I'm really looking forward to reading another Adam Dalgleish mystery. Well, that's everything I have for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'd love to know down in the comments below what are some of the books that you're reading as summer turns to autumn and the leaves start to change. We're about to go out for our own trek up at some place called Mount Nemo, and then we'll be coming back here for a relaxing supper, and tomorrow we're going to have our book club discussion on Daughter of the Forest, which I'm really looking forward to. You know, we've just started it, but we're going to give sort of our first impressions about the tales that the story is based on and how we're getting on with it so far, and I'll keep you updated. Until I see you again, have a wonderful weekend and a wonderful week. We'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.